Jazz, 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 and more jazz. FansToys went and did it, and they gave us their premium / toy deco. So that's what we've got on this episode of MP Squared Reviews. As you can see in front of me here, we've got 4 different options for Jazz. One of them not being a G1 version really, but more like an IDW or something like that version with a different type of Porsche. However, as you can see from the options, despite the Generation Toy one, we've had a couple of other options at least over the years, with maketoys being the one that seemed to be the most preferred over time. Now, there are variations of these 3 here. We have for maketoys, we've got MTRM09, their original, which didn't have these paint details, the aquamarine stripes there, to give it that more realistic alt mode look. We had Transform and Rollout. They had 2 versions, their international and their normal version. Their normal version is what I've got in my collection right now as my Jazz, because it had the best overall alt and bot modes, considering everything, details and real world alt mode aesthetic and everything. So looking at it again after taking it out of the case, it's still good looking. It's got some really good things going for it. You know, it's got good molded details. It's got some paint. It's got a lot of paint, a lot of detail. The wheels were a realistic wheel here with those spokes. He's got a nice visor that actually kind of shines blue. It does shine blue better on in real life than on camera. So 2 versions of that. And now we've got 2 versions of FT-48X. We've got the original, and we've got this X version, which is the premium version with the more realistic alt mode details and more level of, I guess, toy details on the bot mode. So you're not necessarily stuck with just one default option. I was happiest with this guy because of all the comprehensive details about him in his alt and bot modes that just, I thought, looked better than having a toon aesthetic. I'm not a toon aesthetic guy, so I do want my bots to look more like they could be in a live action film, if you will, but without being Michael Bay. So this guy had it going for him pretty well, except for the front part, which when I look at it in different angles, it's too big. You know, it just presents too much. He's just wearing too much up front. It's too much like he's wearing the hood of a car. And I'm wondering and I'm hoping that this Jazz from FansToys, now that they've given it that real world aesthetic all the way around, from the wheels to the paint job, to more details in the bot mode, mostly because of the decals and stuff like that, the tampos. But it just, to me, looked like a better Jazz. When they came out with FT-48, I thought that the overall mold was good. A little bit, maybe too much toon for my taste, but they did tame that chest. And I couldn't deny that when you posed that thing, as they showed in their pictures, it looked fantastic. But what killed it for me was the fact that they went toon on the alt mode. So the lack of the realistic wheel details, the lack of the realistic paint job to match the actual racing car that it was modeled on really was a detriment to me and made me want to stick with Transform and Rollout, unless maybe Downbeat from maketoys here, their R version, might actually do it. But what kills it for me in the pictures for him is the more toon aesthetic in his bot mode. So I like all this detail, and I don't see why it should go away just because he's in toon mode. So I got Downbeat thinking that I would open it up and I would see how the 2 of them compared and I would choose one over the other. But then FansToys went and did it, and they gave us this premium version. The one thing that I still don't like about this version of Jazz are these blue windows. I saw a shot of a real-life Porsche with this deco, basically the same deco. It may not have been the number 4 car, but it did not have blue windows. I think I can let go of that if this guy really proves to be overall just the best mold, alt, and bot mode-wise. quick look at the box. I did a video, if you want to check it out, where I made a 3D box of it that shows all the faces, but here you go. Here's the top, here's the side, bottom, other side, back. And you can see these cool poses that they've got him in. Okay, we've got his brochure and his collector's card, and that collector's card is feeling pretty stiff, plastic-like, and nice. Ooh, and this is cool too. They put it in a zip bag instead of something you have to tear open so you can reseal it. That's nice. All right, yes, we've got our limited edition card here. This is apparently number 1881. I heard that there were a total of 3,000 of these made worldwide, although I have not confirmed that. So, limited edition of some sort. All right. Well, these renders of these transformation instructions are modeled in 3D, it looks like. That is cool. We'll have to see how useful these instructions are. I didn't used to be somebody who relished the idea of transforming. Actually, I still don't relish the idea of transforming. But I've found that I've been able to figure out most of the transformations of the bots that I've been opening over the past year or so, past couple years actually, on my own using an instruction booklet with some help sometimes from a transformation video, but surprised myself that I could actually do transformations. Nothing left in the box. FT-48 stamped into that foam, both sides. That FansToys security tape, that show of pride on all sides. Okay, nothing on that side. And that is looking cool right out of the packaging. Initial reaction actually is, overall, I'm excited about it. However, I still am not digging these toon proportions. I'm not sure how to define it, but you know, I think Takara's gone overboard with the angling of pieces to make it look more like it has forced perspective or something, like we actually saw in some of the cartoon. I think there's a fine line between what's like cool anime looking and what is just kind of lame toon slavishness, if I might say. So, something still about it that I'm not quite on board with. All right, wow, these things are really nicely done. Chromed and shiny blue. These are his speakers that he can mount on his car, as you can see right here in this cartoon clip.
Man, Spike, I can't wait to try out what you did to my sound system. Can't you play something soft?
What else do we have? His grapple. That's cool. All right. And alternate faces. 2 of them. Whoa! Okay, and he just totally fell out. All right, he's got 2 alternate faces there. Let's put him back in for this moment. He's got his rocket launcher. Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, this is like a semi-metallic dark gray here, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, and that chrome is just beautiful. Really nice. On this side, we've got his blaster. Hand cannon, if you will. Now, I wish they would have chromed this out. I do like the bling bling of the original 80s G1 toys. That was one of the big things that, you know, drew me to them as a kid, when all the other kids were checking them out. You know, it's like, whoa, okay, they're shiny, they're metallized. So that would have been cool if this had been chromed, but it's, despite how just flat gray it looks maybe on camera, it does have some metallic fleck kind of thing going on. So it's painted or it's a special kind of plastic. So that's nice. And the bot himself, last but not least, just the packaging. And wow. Okay. He feels good in hand. I try not to be somebody who is too swayed by the heft of a character in my hand, because I don't think that's a realistic way to really say that there's quality to it. If you don't know why the original toys were made of die-cast, a major reason was the oil shortage of the 70s. Plastic was actually, because of that oil shortage, more expensive, so they opted to make more of the toy die-cast. It was actually cost savings, not making it more premium. So what can I say right now? On camera and to my eye, the guy just gleams. He shines all over the place. Oh, good. I was afraid on the box art right here, they had misspelled Porsche as P-O-R-C-H-E, so they corrected it for the actual toy. But yeah, if you look right on there, it says Porsche. I'm so glad that they fixed that. All right, let me get him set up and we'll take a look at him in his bot mode. All right, so I'm honestly taken aback at how awesome this FansToys Jazz is. I just, compared the two off camera, and I want to show you those here. Here is a close-up of FansToys. And as you can see, he looks very dynamic, very cool. He's got the things working for him, like his ab crunch and his waist swivel. We'll go into all the articulation, but on the whole, he just works really nicely. He stands very solidly in that pose. His feet are grounded. And then if you take a look here at my Transform and Rollout TR1 Hova, then you can see I tried to do a similar pose. He doesn't look as good. I can't say that I'm 100% in love with FansToys aesthetic, but I'm honestly amazed at how much I'm blown away by FansToys version of Jazz here. I really didn't think that FansToys was really going to eclipse Hova that much, but when I was posing Hova, looking at the character, the toy again, he doesn't have all the same articulation that FansToys does. Hip flaps are one of the things that are limited on Hova. Hova's chest is bigger. So that ends this review of FansToys FT-48X Jive, their premium version of FT-48 Jive. And no, I'm just kidding. But almost, I'm so blown away by this in bot mode that I almost feel like I could end the review here. But we have to go through the articulation and the alt mode. So as far as the articulation goes, this guy has the 360-degree ratchet for the spin on the shoulder. You can move the shoulder out to a 90-degree, so that's cool. You've got the bicep swivel. You've got a, what is this, 120-degree bend for the elbow. And, I think that's going to be sufficient to show him holding his weapon up and stuff like that. He does have the waist swivel. And let's see, is that 360? That is 360. Ooh. Careful of the backpack stuff. Gets caught up on the waist, apparently. So, let me turn that back around. Now he's all out of whack. That's all right. He's got an ab crunch. There we go. So, like a 45-degree or so ab crunch. Now, the ab crunch does only work at that full 45 degrees in the front going forward, directly forward. If you turn him, then he has a more limited ab crunch. And his rocket just jumped off his backpack. Clip that back on. Head articulation. He does have a cool feature here where the head flips up. So that's not cool in and of itself, but if you happen to try to do like one of those forced perspective Transformers angles where the head has to be seen above the torso, I mean, realistically, that's not going to happen. So, you can fake it by doing that if you want to do some photography and actually have the character be able to look down at some small human beings. I am disappointed in the head articulation insofar as he does not pivot side to side. He can rotate. He can... goes that rocket. He can tilt up a lot, so that's cool. Bring that gun out of the way. He can tilt down. No, he can't. Nope. So he can tilt down as much as he can go with that hood of his, but that's not much compared to that hood. You can tilt down if you bring the head up, but not much on the down. And it's really disappointing that this wasn't just on a ball. Like, I don't understand why we don't have more ball heads for pivot points for head articulation. But he does look really cool, so regardless. Hip flaps galore. Whoa, coming untabbed here. He's got these side hip flaps, which come up like that. And he's got these front flaps. And this is where it really helps with that leg articulation, whereas my TR1 Hova does not have this good of articulation at the hip flaps. So that is good. It's got hip flaps all around. So no matter what you're going to do, those hip flaps can get out of the way. These ones on the side do only go up to about a 45-degree angle. But that does not get in the way of the full Van Damme. So that is good. He kicks forward 100%. This knee comes untabbed, so let's not pay attention to that. But the leg itself goes full 90, even up beyond 90. It can go full back beyond 90. So that's great. Knee bend is full and more than 90. So there you go. Like I said, these knees are finicky. They're a bit of an issue because they don't want to stay tabbed all the time. This mid-thigh part right here snaps in to that thigh there, and it does come untabbed when you're flexing these knees and trying to position them. So I'm not sure what gives there. So let me show you on the other side. See, it's just got this little tab here that I guess secures it inside the thigh. So might have to put some nail polish on that or some kind of thickening agent to help that snap into place. But it is serviceable. The feet look great, as you've seen. I didn't think there was a lot of articulation going on there, but there's enough. You've got your rocker here, and it's just the interior rocker. It doesn't have the outside rocker, really. It's got a slight toe tilt, very slight, see? But it does have one. And it's got a toe tilt up. This can come untabbed, so I suppose you could do something more, maybe. I don't know. And that feels like it's die cast, which is cool. So, yeah, the overall articulation of this guy is solid. Those knees being the exception. One other thing that I don't particularly care for is that the wings here, if you want to go for the winged look, they don't really have much ability to pose. So once you've brought them out, let me see if I can untab that there. Okay, so you can have them bent down like that, but that's as far up as it really wants to go. So from the front, you can get the winged look, but you can't necessarily give him like that, you know, extreme wing, like if you wanted to pop them up some more. Also, these tabs back here are just on this kind of rivet, and they don't really automatically snap in, so you have to pressure fit them around that. So it is just a manual pressure fit into a tab. So, okay. Worked in rehearsal. So there you go, like that. And then it, you know, it may not stay as securely unless you push the tab into the wing itself. So just a word to the wise, if you're having trouble with your wings on this guy, that's probably why. And then there goes that knee again. All right. So there you have him. That's his bot mode. As you can see, the rocket launcher was popping off. It has enough articulation here, you know, to be serviceable. It just clips onto the back of the hood there, and it just has a small ratchet system going on so that it can point straight and then up. And it will let you pivot it, but not because it's designed to, just because this little clip point, this little notch here will fit around the part of the backpack and let you pivot it just on that square piece. So it's not that it's meant to pivot, but you can pivot it. All right, now how about we check out that grapple. Once again, it is nice that FansToys is using these little zip bags so that you can store these accessories if you want to in them again. And here he is with his grappling hook, looking really cool. It just snaps on to the end of his arm when you fold his hand in. The winch is just manual, that doesn't have any kind of spring load, so you're going to be winding it by hand to get that grappling hook tucked back away onto the winch. But looks cool. It's one of the features that I really liked about TR-01 Hova. You got to have that because of this one scene in one of the first episodes of Transformers where he uses it. Might have been the only time he used it, but it was a cool thing to see. Which leads me back to the hands. I didn't talk about the hand articulation. So the hand articulation has a single hinge pin here at the hand, but it has an independent index finger, which does not go straight, but gives you the trigger finger look. And one thing that I found out that was cool was, I don't know about you, but these guns with the side tab don't always tab into characters' hands like they are supposedly designed to. And this noticeably doesn't have those side tabs. But what it does have is this butt tab here on the butt of the gun. And inside the hand there, if you can see, at the base of the hand, there is a little slot. So the gun now slides in, open up those fingers, slide the handle in, and then you can press the butt into that groove. And it connects nice and solidly in there. And you can close it up for that gun action. And now it's a different tab system. We'll see how well that does compared to the side tab system, but I'm excited to see that they tried something different. Let's see, what else do we need to show? We need to show the faces, right? So he's got faces. And let's get a close-up on this one here just for reference. So there, he's got his straight face, basically. And then he's got his two other faces here. Get him standing a little more solidly there. I'm not a fan of this midline here where the bumper comes together. But as you may have noticed, I just pushed that in, pressure fitted it. And I am excited to see that it does seem to have the ability to hold that that position once you press it together. Still not a fan of the split bumper, but hey, you got to do what you got to do for the transformation. Okay, so we've got a talking face, and we've got a happy face. Cool. I wish they would have given us one more face, a mean face, you know, a battle face, but you know, that's cool, whatever. One feature that you might like on TR01 Hova is the fact that he has some hip speakers. So if you want to blast some enemies, these little side skirts, which aren't really skirts, they're just flaps, and they fold out to reveal a set of speakers. So you can mount his speakers on his back and also have him blast sonically from the hips. Can we do anything like that with the FT-48X? Not officially. The manual doesn't show anything, but I was able to finagle something. That is not in the manual. The way you can do this, putting these speakers on his hips here, is you can clip them onto the back of the thighs here on this little wing piece. So, not in the manual, but if you want to do it, you want to give them that extra sonic power against the Decepticons, you can hook them up on the hips. Of course, you can also hook them up on the shoulders with those two things for more sonic blasting as well. But that is in the manual. One note about these guys is that they are very nicely finished with this really awesome blue chrome. But be careful. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell here in the video, but it looks like there's a little nick here on the edge of mine already. I don't know if it came like that out of the package or if I did that in handling it, but be aware that these might be delicate and chipping may occur. So just FYI. All right, not to pat myself too much on the back, but I was able to put this into its alt mode without a spudger, but of course I do have some thumbnail and fingernails to use. Those did come in handy, and I only used the instruction booklet in order to get it transformed. There are a couple of tricky parts to this. Pay special attention to when you have to fold the legs in. Make sure you look at those directions there and really see how the parts are positioned in the images. It's not too bad if you go into it with trying to have more of a, you know, just a calm mindset about being patient with it. I was telling myself, let it tell you what it needs to do, what it wants to do. And following the directions and kind of trying to keep that in mind, it made it achievable and it made it, the result of it, enjoyable. So FansToys, thank you very much for making that possible. It is very satisfying to see how the legs do get all packed away inside the back of this car. The front end here also tabs in a very precise way. I'm not fully convinced that it tabs in well, but overall, this thing is looking really, really nice. Yeah, I'm awestruck by how good this thing is. It's really, really awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at it in a little bit of a spin next to TR01 Hova. And, you know, the TR01 Hova is a little bit bigger than the FansToys, but not by much. And the overall sculpts of both are nice. You can see that split there in the FT-48X at the bumper. You don't really have that as much with the TR01 Hova, at least on camera. It doesn't show up as much. I do appreciate the flat white look, since this is, you know, a car from the 70s or 80s. I appreciate the nice, just flat white look as opposed to the pearlescent finish that the FansToys FT-48X has. But that's not saying that FansToys FT-48X isn't awesome, because it is. I also still like the dark window tint on the TR01 Hova versus the FansToys. Also, you know, they're two different interpretations of this character, but you can see less junk inside the car cab with the TR01 Hova than you can with the FT-48X. It's largely due to the fact that there's not as much in the interior of the cab with TR01 as opposed to Jive. Another thing that I do like is that the TR01 Hova has more realistic headlamps. This one has these blue tinted lenses on the FT-48X, which, you know, I can live with. At least they match the windows. You know, it's a complete package. It's unified in that way. But I don't know how realistic that is to the actual original car. I doubt it is, but if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below. As far as the roll test goes, TR01 Hova rolls nicely, although you can see it's not engaging that front right wheel unless you press down on it. It's raised up for some reason, but it does roll quite smoothly. There are clearance issues on the bottom of this if you don't get these arms positioned just right here for the wheels. There's this little drop-down peg thing, and if that doesn't get tucked away tightly enough, then I was experiencing drag on my tabletop. Also, a bummer on this, and I have had this guy for a while now, but if you can make out here, that's not just shadow. The Dunlop tampo is actually rubbing off here, or was rubbed off when I first got it, but you can see it's also incomplete here. Not in the back though, so I'm thinking this is coming from the rubbing from the transformation. I'd love to tell you that FT-48X Jive rolls just as well, but it doesn't. It rolls, but definitely has a little bit of stick. But the wheels roll. You hear that squeak? I'm not even pressing hard on the car itself, and you can hear that rub. Maybe it's the surface of this disc, I don't know, but that front right wheel is also not connecting great, so pressing down on that, you can see it rolls. There you go. And if we just try to give it a free roll test, it rolls. So, can you really go wrong with either? Not necessarily, but if you want something more free rolling, then it's the TR01 Hova. Maybe that'll loosen up over time with FT-48X, I don't know. So, who wins the alt mode? They're a close tie to me. I like the clean, pure white look of TR01 Hova. It seems more realistic to me than the pearlescent paint job on the FansToys. It also just seems to be a little bit cleaner as far as the final fit and finish. There's less junk inside the cab. It rolls well. You don't see a split in that front bumper like you're seeing here with FT-48X. This hood on FT-48X is tentatively pieced together. There's none of that problem with TR01 Hova's front end. I do enjoy the gold spoked rims of the FT-48X, but the spoked rims of the TR01 Hova work for me as well. So, final thoughts here. I'm just going to have to give it to TR01 Hova for the cleaner alt mode. But can you really go wrong with either? I don't think so. Oh, wait a minute. We're not complete on the alt mode until we see the accessories. Here are the speakers. You know, to me, with all this bling, this is what a masterpiece G1 transformer should be. It should be this tight mold. It should be accurate in the alt mode. It should just have a lot of presentation and a lot of fun, and part of that fun is this bling. So kudos to FansToys for bringing this shine to these speakers and to that rocket launcher, those spoked gold rims. They just look really good, really premium. Jazz's rocket launcher and his rifle can be put together into a compound weapon here. And why the heck not give your alt mode a little more firepower? This looks pretty cool. And you could probably even go a little more crazy by putting those speakers on the edges of that fin too. It's time for the MP Review's MP Scale Comparison Test. Bringing in our two MP Scale standards, MP21 Bumblebee and MP10 Optimus Prime. I was nervous about this scale test. I use the Freelance Graphics scale chart by Mike Lorber as my standard, and we know from previous videos that MP21 and MP10 Optimus Prime are to scale. So checking Jazz against the scale, here's Jazz. And according to the ratio on the larger freelance graphics scale chart, Jazz is only supposed to come up to Optimus's hips. Now, if we bring in our trusty little MP scale ruler, we can see that the top of Jazz's head actually comes up to the top of Optimus's elbow, which is actually more like at his rib cage. So higher up on his body. I'm not saying that this ruins FT-48X at all. It's just interesting to find out that actually on the scale, Jazz was supposed to be that small. If you don't abide by this scale chart, that's fine. It's just interesting to note. And I didn't actually realize that Jazz was supposed to be that small. Yeah, I thought he should be substantially taller than Bumblebee, but I guess he's not really supposed to be. All right, so there you go. There you have it. The actual litmus test is that FT-48X is too large for MP scale. In preparing for this MP scale test, I went back into my older videos trying to find my review of Transform and Rollout TR01 Hova. And I was only able to find the rebuy I did. I guess I'd never actually officially reviewed the original purchase I made. But I also apparently didn't do a scale comparison test in that video. So what does that look like? All right, we got the same issue here. He's too tall. So if we bring in our ruler again, we can see that TR1 Hova is just about as tall. He comes up to the top of that elbow there. So there we go. Again, just maybe a little bit smaller than FT-48X, but still comes up to about that rib level for Optimus. So yeah, there we go. I officially know that I've never had a Jazz in my collection which has been scaled to Optimus Prime. And seeing these guys side by side is interesting for me because I have not been a fan of the cartoon aesthetic, at least not the slavish cartoon aesthetic. I think FT-48X here pulls off the look of Jazz really well, and comparatively, I can't say that TR01 Hova looks as good. I mean, FT-48X looks like the star of the movie, and TR01 Hova from Transform and Rollout looks like the stunt double. What can I say? That's why we do reviews, right? So, what does it all mean? We've got many different Jazzes that you can choose from. We've got Generation Toy, which is not G1 accurate, but is maybe more of an IDW, and looks like it could be very cool, though I don't know yet. We've got maketoys Downbeat. We've got another version of maketoys Downbeat. We've got Jive. We've got 48X Jive here. We've got Transform and Rollout, who supposedly also has 2 different versions. What about all that jazz? Well, I still am going to look into my Generation Toy version because I just like the fact that it's an updated Porsche. And from the box art, it does look really cool. But as far as who I expected to be the representation of Jazz in my collection, I thought it was going to be Transform and Rollout because of its good alt mode. But then FansToys went ahead and made Jive, and I rejected it because it did not have a realistic alt mode complete with all of the realistic world details that the race car has. And then they went out and put out the toy / premium version of Jive, and it just looked too good to at least pass up and check out. You know, there's some minor things that maybe could have been a little bit better, like the pieciness of the hood when it's in the alt mode. It feels to me after I've transformed it like I'm just waiting for those panels to pop apart. They seem slightly apart, a couple of them, but overall, you saw it, it looks amazing. The blue tinted windows and the blue tinted headlamps are also something that don't really tickle my fancy. But hey, you know, with the rest of the details on this thing, how amazing it looks and how amazing it poses. That's one thing I didn't mention was that when I posed this thing for the first time, it felt solid and it looked like a freaking statue. And that's a good thing. I don't mean that this bot can only be a statue on your shelf. I mean, you saw the pose that I pulled off, and it just looked like something super dynamic that would have been maybe out of comic book illustration, you know? So my hat's off to FansToys on this bot. I am blown away by the quality and the look of this FansToys version in alt mode and bot mode. I'm still not a fan of the toon aesthetic. I think X-Trans bots did it better with their Springer. As you can see here, it had a good anime feel, but it also didn't feel too cartoony. And it had some of that premium deco feel that FansToys brings with that metallic paint and stuff. It didn't feel as good in hand as FT-48X Jive does here, but part of that is, you know, the die-cast thing that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Also, one thing about posing Jive is that he's tight in the waist swivel. It was kind of touch and go, tentative about where I could grip him so that I could get a solid enough leverage on that torso to turn it. One annoyance are those knee locks that actually come unlocked fairly easily. So, you know, be aware that those knee locks on the thighs may come untabbed because they're really only in there with a friction tab. I don't know if that could have been done any better, but they pop out too quickly for really quick posing. Another annoyance is not that TR1 Hova is much better, but I'm not sure why maybe everybody in the Masterpiece game doesn't just go to a ball head as the joint for the head, just so you can turn that head any which way you want. I don't see any excuse for why this guy couldn't have a side-to-side head tilt. That would be one deep criticism I would have, but on an otherwise amazing bot. One other thing, I noticed what looks to be a tampo scratch on one of his fenders. I don't know if that was the way he came out of the box or if that's something I did while handling him, but do be aware that even the instruction booklet says, in order to avoid damaging surface or paint, please don't let parts scratch each other. So obviously they seem a little concerned about how fine or delicate the tampos and the details on this guy might be. Or maybe they're just covering their butts. Okay, that's it for this Transformers third-party masterpiece review of FansToys FT-48X Jive, their premium/toy deco, alongside Transform and Rollout's TR01 Hova, Agent Meister, who was the reigning champion in my collection as Jazz, and I think he has been dethroned. Now, whether or not I keep both of them for different reasons, we'll see, but I just gotta say FansToys is beautiful. Oh, also minor detail, but if you are a car person, just note that TR01 Hova actually does have the Porsche emblem tampoed on the front bumper, whereas FansToys does not. So if you're going for Porsche reality, then you might want to look at TR01 Hova if nobody else does it for you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy collecting, everybody.